Okay, there we go. Lots of good setups. Let's run through the calendar real quick of what we have coming up here for the rest of the week. We've seen a good bit of news today. It's kind of a mixed bag as always. Worse than expected home sales, better than expected unemployment claims. It's just kind of things are happening. Draghi is going to do us the pleasure of speaking tomorrow, so we'll see what kind of movement that has. I'm not even sure what this one's on. Okay, speaking at the University of Milan. All right. I think there's some bias there since he's Italian. He seems to speak at a lot of these things. And then we have the bond auction for Italy. Then we have the FOMC stuff also. Speaking at 2:45 a.m. What in the world is that in another country? Yeah, actually I guess it is in Norway. So there you go. Okay, so that's what we have coming up. Nothing too crazy. The Euro pairs definitely could have a run on them with some Draghi getting his chit chat on. So that's a potential for sure. Here's one thing that we have to keep an eye on. We've talked about this euro dollar. One thing that I want to help everybody to remember and understand, things have been choppy. This week has really done, this is the start of the week on the euro, and it just has done a bunch of garbage. We had this one night, and then it's just been chop. And so it happens. For some reason, the euro's waiting for something big to come along, and it may or may not happen. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, what we have pretty consistently on dollar pairs anyways is we have missed pivot points all in the direction of dollar strength. So right now we have the only missed weekly pivot points and gaps that we have on the euro is this gap and this missed weekly pivot point. That's down below. Pound dollar, same thing. The only missed pivots we have are two missed pivots down below current market price with a gap as well. Aussie dollar, same thing. Missed pivot down here, gap that needs to be filled, and the Aussie dollar has actually crossed the 23% fib and is consolidating and trying to make a run at that 38. And then the yen pairs are a little bit different. We do have some missed pivots on the yen pairs that should take these guys down just a little bit as well. You can see those are all below current market price except for the euro yen. Dollar CAD has missed weekly pivots. The only missed weekly pivots that we can see, unless there's something 19 months back that I missed, but for the most part, this is all pretty accurate. The only missed pivots I see on the dollar CAD are above current market price. So we have dollar bullish missed pivot euro dollar, dollar bullish missed pivot pound dollar, bullish missed pivot for the dollar on the Aussie dollar, bullish dollar missed pivot on the dollar CAD. And so of those pairs, I don't even look at the dollar yen, but do we have any? Well, looks like we took that one out last, so I don't think we have any missed pivots anywhere super nearby on the dollar yen. But all these major dollar pairs, let's even look at New Zealand dollar. I haven't looked at this one too much either. So what do you know? Two missed pivots in the direction of dollar strength. So basically, all the dollar pairs that we watch, that we look for, I think the dollar Swiss franc even has the same thing. Do I have the dollar Swiss franc? So 4-hour chart, missed weekly pivots, two missed weekly pivots in the direction of dollar strength. I'm sure you guys are getting the point by now that there's going to be a dollar rally, and probably much sooner than later. We have all these missed pivot points that need to get hit, and they're on pairs that typically don't go too terribly long without reaching those pivots. So now euro dollar is well, it's only into the we'll probably finish the week out without getting that pivot hit, but know that that's probably going to get hit coming into the next week. We have the end of month fix. Let's see a calendar here. Wednesday, Saturday 28th, Sunday 29th, Monday 30th. Okay, so the open of the market Sunday and on Monday, we should see probably some pretty good stuff. Those are the last two trading days of the month, and that's the fix where we see some pretty big movements. Markets have been pretty choppy. There's been some sideways activity on a lot of these things. Some of the yen pairs have moved decently well, but there's been a lot of chop. And so that being the case, we just kind of have to wait out these movements a little bit and get those runs you know, as they come towards the end of the month, which is probably what we'll be seeing coming up here. So I'm using pivot points, and this is something I talk about quite a bit. We can use pivot points and we can use Fibonacci to not only determine trend, but to determine, to determine targets, but also to determine trend. So they give us profit targets to aim for, but we've had these upward runs on the euro dollar of the last couple of weeks, and now it's just going sideways and consolidating, and we have all these missed areas down here. So it's time for this euro dollar to start making a run towards that 38% fib and giving us a move down there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. That's what I'm going for, and I think we've got a great opportunity for it in the works. So be ready for that, guys. I think it's coming up a little bit sooner than later. Euro dollar for the moment, I'm just looking. I'll probably short the euro dollar. You can see that we've got, I hate that we have that 200 moving average coming up through there, but that's the 23% fib. The 200 moving average on the euro dollar is basically overlapping the 23% fib on the 1 hour chart. So that's going to be a little bit of a tough level. I expect the euro dollar probably to bounce up just a little bit, and I think this is a good area to trade against still, as I mentioned yesterday, 134.60. We'll probably get one more stab at that if we do test that. The only trade I'm going to be looking for over the next little while is if we get a test of 134.60-70, get long, keep tight stops, because whenever we have any kind of support or resistance level and a 200 moving average overlapping it and a fib level, that's going to be strong support. Now we may not get a huge run out of that, but this is going to be a great buy on the dip area on the euro dollar. 23% fib, just above 134.50. That's the only entry I'm looking for on the euro dollar right now. Otherwise, I'm looking for opportunities to short against this high or trade this break, and it's going to take another probably attempt at that before that breaks. So for the moment, look to buy the dip on the euro dollar. You can see that we have a pivot point that's only going to be about 5 pips or 10 pips away from current market price when it comes out on the euro dollar. So it's not going to give too much motivation either direction. So look to buy the dip, euro dollar 134.60. Pound dollar is interesting. I don't know what I want to do with this pound dollar yet. We have 2 missed weekly pivot points, and I'm just about ready to just put a short on here and forget about it for a week or 2 or 3. So we're into the 3rd week of this big missed weekly pivot here. 3rd week, it's 430 pips away. Good grief, that's a huge run, and that's a great opportunity to start getting short. I just don't know where I want to do it yet. Obviously, the break of 159.60 would be a good spot to start. And that's a little ways away. That's you know, it's 80 or 70 or 80 pips away, so that might be a little while before we get there. But watch for the break of this weekly low. Otherwise, don't get too caught up on the pound dollar. This thing's going to be a little bit of a mess, I think, so we've got to be kind of careful with it. I think of our bigger runs here, probably what we would look at is this 4-hour chart and kind of this recent dip here and this run up here. And you can see that it on that scale there, it has crossed the 23% fib a couple of times on the 4-hour chart, and that all fits in the 4-hour range, and that's a pretty good sized range right there. So that just puts more bearish pressure on this pound dollar. The fact that it's crossed below that and it's rallied up and it's coming right back down to it. So I'm going to be looking for opportunities to get short, but it'll probably be around the break of that area. We get a break at the low. We've still got 80 pips before we get into the 38% fib, and that still doesn't even get us all the way to this missed weekly pivot, and it doesn't get us to this missed weekly pivot. So let's look for some long-term trades to get short euro dollar and ultimately get short pound dollar. But again, I don't think we're going to see those probably even this week. Aussie dollar, as I have mentioned, is doing the same thing. The Aussie dollar has crossed the 23% fib. It's consolidating just above the 38. We've got the 200 moving average just running right through the middle on this 1-hour chart. This thing hasn't gotten anywhere, so the pivot points on the Aussie dollar are going to be right about current market price. But the 4-hour chart tells us an interesting story here, and I'm watching this channel. I'm looking for daily highs and weekly lows. We've got a nice double bottom here at 93.38. Double bottom 93.38. That's this guy right here. We break that, I'm short. However, we get above 9,400, and I'm long. I think that's a great opportunity to get long. You can see that we're about 35 pips off the high and just shy of 30 pips off the low. We're right smack dab in the middle of the channel. So there's nothing to do on this Aussie dollar until it breaks above 9,400 or below 93.30. 93.38. So it's just a simple breakout trade, and I'm definitely leaning to that break of 93.38 because, once again, missed pivots, gap, crossed the 23% fib. We've kind of done all that stuff. So it's just a matter of waiting it out and getting short Aussie dollar. As the days go on, I'm becoming more and more dollar bullish again. And it's probably because I'm always a dollar bull, but the charts are telling us the story here, and we've just got to identify those setups. So break above 9,400, break below 93.38 Aussie dollar. Yen pairs. Surprisingly, I like this Aussie yen still. I think there's a good opportunity for this thing to continue higher against this low, but right now I'm more interested in breakouts. This buying the dip, selling the rally stuff is good, but it's tricky in choppy markets. As are breakouts, they're tricky in choppy markets as well. But I'm looking more for breakouts and for those to happen. Now we do have a nice little bull flag still here, and it's broken out and it's come back and retested the trend line. So getting long against that low right there isn't a bad move. It's about 40 pips away, but overall, I would like to probably just wait on this yen and kind of see how it plays out. Pound yen, same thing. The pound yen, nice little double bottom at this low here. Why did I move my level? I must have moved something. Okay, so 157.30. We've had some yen, some weak yen news, and that's why we're seeing more yen weakness. This is broken out of that flag there, and it's staying above all of that. I'm just watching. I'm watching and waiting and ready for the break of 157.30. That's a money trade. That's something you can put a pending order on and just wait forever, however long it takes to fill. At this point as well, if the yen breaks, or if the pound yen breaks below, this is a nice little support area, 158.00. If we break below that, that may give us an early entry on the way to that 157.30. So we could potentially be 60 to 70 pips in profit by the time we reach that bigger breakout area, which is a good spot. I don't have any super good longs that I want to take on this pound yen. I'm more interested in shorting the break of 158.00 or 157.30. Great areas on that pound yen for sure. Dollar CAD, let me just recommend the two things you should do with the dollar CAD right now. Number one, just put a buy position on and hedge and weather the storm if you have to. It's making a run of 125 to 130 pips. Whether any of us like it or not, it's headed up there. And so we might as well be on board for that. So basically, either option A is just put a buy trade on the dollar CAD and forget about it for a week or two. Option B, stay out of it altogether because it's really kind of choppy and it's done nothing this week and it's kind of getting messy. And so if you feel like you can hang in there for some more wild ride and you're comfortable with hedging and all of that, then buy the heck out of this dollar CAD and trade it up into 104.40. But if you're not excited about holding on for that crazy ride, then sit tight and we'll wait for this to come up to that weekly pivot or give us a better setup or something. But it's creating a nice inverted head and shoulders pattern here, and so as we break above this 103.35 area, that should hopefully open the movement up a little bit more. But we're going to come into the 200 moving average. It's going to be a bumpy ride, basically, is what I'm saying. So once again, if you're comfortable with just letting that sucker ride, then let it ride, because it will get up to that 104.40. Otherwise, stay out of it. Don't look for any short-term trades on the dollar CAD. It's too choppy right now. Still a missed pivot on the euro pound. Again, that's something that you could just put a trade on and let it work its way back towards that missed pivot. It's already 3 weeks back now, and we're only 50 pips off the low, so that's something to do. But I don't see any good short-term trades there. Again, too much chop. Euro Aussie. This is going to be too strong of a support for me to feel comfortable trading the break of it. 143.63 area looks like a great little breakout zone, but we're going to have a 200 moving average overlapping, a weekly pivot, an existing low, a bigger trend line. There's a lot of things right there that's going to stop that Euro Aussie from making a comfortable move through that low. That looks like a good breakout area, but I don't think it's going to be, so I'm not trading that one. What I will trade though is I'm just going to stay out of it. I may consider buying off this dip, which I think is a decent move on the Euro pound, or on the Euro Aussie. But I still think our best bet is to get long at 144.60. So just 5 pips above this high. Let's get long. Let's trade this thing at least 50 pips into the 38% fib, and ultimately, you know, at least 150 pips. I mean, if we make any less than 150 pips on this trade, it'll be ridiculous, because really there's ultimately a movement of 300 to 400 pips on there, but we've got a pretty safe 150 pip trade in the works at the break of 144.55. I'm waiting on this Euro New Zealand. Like I said, I want to make sure that we don't have a short-term head and shoulders pattern, which it almost looks like we do. It's kind of a crazy looking head right there, but it looks like we have a short-term head and shoulders pattern, which is nothing to give us much of a sell signal, but it definitely is going to get us a buy signal at a better price. So let's see if we can get back down even below this 162.20 and then start buying that thing, because we have, on this big long run down, we've already broken above the 23% fib. We have missed weekly pivots. If there's one thing that I can guarantee you, is that the Euro New Zealand is going to be going up sooner than later, but it's probably going to take a little bit of a dip down before it makes that move up. Euro New Zealand is going up, and it's going to go up a good bit, a couple hundred pips in the next move at least. So again, if you're in for a wild ride and you're down for hedging, get long Euro New Zealand now. If you want to wait for a better entry, I think we'll probably get one another 50 to maybe even 75 pips below current market price, and then we'll get long there. We have made a major cross of that 23% fib. We've got a good chance of making it into that 38 and starting to reach some of those upper missed weekly pivot points. So Euro New Zealand is a great one to get to look to get long on, but we need to buy that dip just a little bit more down there. So let me just reiterate. At some point in the near future, the euro dollar is going to sell off and get and run down quite a bit. We need to be looking for opportunities to get short there. Same thing on the pound dollar. Same thing on the Aussie dollar. A little iffy on the Aussie yen. Looking to short the break of 158.00 on pound yen and 157.30. The dollar CAD is going to rally. It's headed up, so the entry is going to be tricky because it's choppy, but it's headed up. Euro Aussie is going to break that 144.55 area and make a nice rally, a nice 150 pip run at least. So we need to be on board for that, but we're going to probably have to wait for it a little bit. So we'll be ready for that one. And Euro New Zealand is also going to rally sooner than later, but we need to look for that dip and get in a little bit better on that dip. But make no mistake about it when I say that these pairs will do what I'm saying they'll do, because they're going to. 100% they're going to. Our job now is to find the best entries and manage our positions as best we can to take advantage of those moves that are absolutely coming. So there's really good things on the horizon, and some really great long-term, medium to long-term trades. We have some that have great profit potential of 3 and 4 and 5 and 800 pips, and we have some that are just some nice easy 50 and 100 pip runs. But they're all setting up, and they're all just about ready to rock and roll. So let's get into those. Let's be ready for them, and let's make some money on them. And that's what I'm looking for the moment. Questions, comments, anything I missed? Feel free to ask away on anything.